Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations for the new comic book days that come out every Wednesday. And it's kind of a medium-sized week. There's a lot of books on the wall. There's a number of reprints. So if you missed out on a few issues, Transformers, Space Ghost is not a reprint. We got to restock. So there's a number of those that you'd be able to pick up. But we're going to pick all fresh stuff. These are all brand new issues out this morning. Let's get started.
Yeah, so my pick this week is Ultimate X-Men issue 3. No surprise. I'm pretty sure the only Ultimate book that hasn't ended up here was like issue 2 of Black Panther.
I believe so.
Yeah, like every other Ultimate everything has been up here. And this issue, so far we've mostly been following Armor in she's kind of been our point of view character. This issue we get to step a bit more into May's life, kind of figure out like how she got where she is in the story.
Yes, it's an origin story.
Yeah, it's an origin story, and you kind of start to see like how these like dots from like their two like paths are like connecting. Like you're starting to get an idea of like the actual threat they're facing.
Yes.
Well,
there's a bigger plot afoot.
A very shadowy threat, maybe we say.
We alluded to this with the last issue.
To be fair, they're not really being subtle about it.
No, not at all.
It's one of those things where as soon as you realize like who this character is supposed to be, it's just like, oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. But this, I honestly, more interesting than some of that is just like getting to see a lot of this issue is spent looking at May's home life, and it's not great.
Not good.
Like we've talked about this with the other two issues, how this series is not afraid to like confront like very like heavy topics and like subject matter and imagery.
Yes.
And this issue definitely still does that, but like in a like more like trying to think of like what's the right way to put it, like down to earth, like, oh, this is like horrible things that just normal everyday people experience. Like the other stuff, a lot of it's been like either like really like horrific like otherworldly stuff or like there's definitely
extreme tragedy.
Whereas this is just honestly a lot of people's home life.
Yeah, she's got a toxic home life that is very much not abnormal for many people.
Yeah. And like how that plays into like her powers, how we get like a little hint of how like she's inspired by Storm over in the Black Panther book, like being this freedom fighter over in Africa. And then the end of this issue is the introduction of a couple faces. Some of them might be very familiar to readers. Some of them at first glance might not be. But if they're doing what I think they're doing, I'm very excited because it's such a fun twist on the X-Men. And it's one that like in the context of like Momoko doing this book like makes so much sense. Like, oh yeah, this is of course how this would go. And just in the terms of the setting and everything, it's great. I love these issues. They've also had like these back pages where they kind of like delve in a little to like some of the like cultural aspects of the book that like might at like first glance to a reader being like, oh, what's this about? There's like they basically have this kind of thing that they're doing that's like it's not exactly like a Ouija board.
It's very similar.
Yeah, but like you've got a coin and like how it relates to that. Like it explains. It's I don't know. It's just it's fun getting these little insights into like how like these little things that are like similar but different to like American culture versus Japanese culture. And obviously, of course, the book looks great. It's Peach Momoko. Like there's a reason anytime we have like variant covers done by her, like they fly off the shelves.
Right, yeah.
But just like whether it's like the like crazy horror stuff or just kind of the subtle emotional. So like there's a lot of really good reaction shots in here that I don't know. Of all the Ultimate books so far, this is the one that's taken the most swings, and so far they're all like home runs for me. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's also the one that has messed with some readers. But for me, I'm really enjoying the ride and the fact that this book is really taking its time building these characters. So I think for some people that's probably part of the problem is it's like, where's the action? We wanted a team book and villains and fighting and stuff right away, and we're really taking a lot of time to get to know the individual characters. And this one was we get to see May and how she ended up where she's at now in the story.
And for those of you who do want the team and you do want the fighting the villains, definitely looks like we're getting there pretty soon, judging by how this issue goes.
Yeah, so I think that the initial arc, that first graphic novel, 5-6 issues worth, is probably going to be the extent of the building everything up.
Yeah.
And then the next one will be, all right, we've got this group of people together, now they're going to form a team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really interesting. I'm really liking all the characters that they're introducing. Yeah, the whole cat thing was weird. I didn't know where it was going.
Yeah, that was also
uncomfortable.
like,
wow, that was... Yeah, just a creepy exchange.
Yeah.
Momoko is doing a really good job of getting the eerie element down. We've talked about that with the issues that focused a little more on the creepy horror, abandoned school kind of scenes.
The playing with like shadows in terms of like, oh, sometimes this dude looks a little creepy. Sometimes he just looks like a normal little dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's utterly fantastic work.
It's really good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot.
But speaking of stuff that involves light and shadows, it's a weird segue, but hey, let's go with it.
Yeah, so I went with Green Lantern number 11. And I picked Green Lantern once or twice.
Yeah, it's been on here a couple times.
Yeah, in this arc. I'm pretty sure that I picked number 1. So we're in the second arc of this whole Green Lantern run. And I'm really enjoying it. There's so many lanterns out there, right? Not just green, but so many different lanterns out there. Sometimes the books can end up being kind of busy, or they end up losing the thread, you know? Like, it has problems sustaining story power. Yeah. This has been really focused. So even though the cast now in this second arc has expanded considerably, it's still really good. And the art is also just really spot on for Hal Jordan's. I don't know, he's got this kind of classic Neil Adams kind of expectation, you know? Like, that's Gil Kane and Neil Adams really set the bar for...
Because Zermanico is still doing the art.
Zermanico,
yeah. Absolutely gorgeous stuff.
Yeah,
there.
So it's really fantastic. And in this, so the Green Lanterns have figured out that this council that's trying to run the emotional spectrum is up to no good, which, big surprise, right? And we've known it for a few issues, certainly. So now it's the point where they have to decide, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to confront them and try to take this head on, or, do we regroup and try something different? So we get a little more insight into how this whole plot has been put into play, and then what the Lanterns are going to do about it. And it doesn't go well. So, but we're also seeing what's happening on Earth with Ferris in the aftermath of there was a test rocket that went horribly bad. Hal was involved in it. Big surprise. Yeah. So, there's a bunch of stuff going on there too. And this was just a really well balanced book. It's in the middle of an arc, but this arc has been really good. We've got a number of the back issues. I'm pretty certain that we've got everything for this arc. We might have just about everything for this whole run. So if you haven't picked it up yet, I believe that we've got the first volume in stock right now for the graphic novel as well.
Also, one thing that, because like you talked about, like it's been very like focused. It's got like Hal doing his thing, but it's also had like a bunch of like little backup stories recently, which is like, hey, let's pop in and check out this Lantern.
Yeah, so the backup story right now is Guy Gardner's supposed to be collecting Lobo. Yeah. And it's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun. But it's, I'm really impressed with what DC is doing. Because for quite a while there in Rebirth, it felt like if it wasn't Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman, there just wasn't much story to be told. They were doing stuff with the Lanterns, and they were doing stuff with the Flashes and whatever, but I don't know, it just wasn't hitting quite right for me. And now all of these books are really, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Birds of Prey, Catwoman for me has continued to be really good. There's just a bunch of really good DC books out there, and the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman books continue to be great too. I'm really liking the direction DC's going right now. Yeah, it's like a great modern take on their kind of classic characters.
But forget DC for a moment.
Yes,
our consensus
speaking
pick
of big
this week
universal stories
is Dr. Doom, or just Doom as
It's
it were.
just straight giant-sized Doom.
I will say it's very funny that despite the fact this year they're celebrating like the anniversary of like giant size being a thing and putting out a bunch of giant size specials marketed as such, they didn't do it for this one.
Well, they didn't title it. You know, they put it in the
it says giant sized one shot, but it's just been giant sized Doom.
Yeah, well, nobody puts anything before Doom. I think is probably what happened.
Yeah, I like that explanation.
Yeah,
but point being, this book is great. So we've got the team of Sanford Green and Jonathan Hickman here telling kind of like it's kind of, I feel like in a similar vein to those like the end stories that Marvel used to do a lot, where it's just like this like the final like thing that this character, like this final mission that they embark on. And with Doom here, what's happened is basically Galactus has gone like totally off the rails, just like causing chaos throughout the cosmos.
Yeah, he's gone crazy.
Yeah, Doom tried to stop him, didn't really work, has been found basically floating half dead in space for a couple years, and now it's time to see, can we actually stop Galactus? Is there like any way to stop him at this point? And it's such a fun like kind of look into like Doom's headspace when at this point in life, like what is this guy who's always been about like control and everything, what does he do when he's just faced with a situation that he doesn't really have any control over? And as you might expect from Doom, he's just like, nah, I got this.
Yeah. He's completely arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
The repercussions of his actions didn't faze him at all.
Mm-hmm.
He just moved right on to, all right, well, where are we at now? And how do I, proceed from here? The art is
gorgeous.
Great. And that's always a lot of fun for me to see. It's reminiscent of like Infinity Gauntlet or
Crisis,
or those where you get some shots of many characters from the comic book universe. And you get to go through and try to see like, where are some of my favorites? Are they going to get some more of the obscure characters in here and stuff? I was not disappointed. I was like, well, Nova's got to show up in here somewhere. So yeah, because all of the superpowered beings of the universe tried stopping Galactus. So you get these awesome fight scenes where these heroes are just rushing in towards Galactus. It's so cool.
It's great when you mention Crisis, because there's like a specific like two-page spread in here that feels very much like it's trying to invoke like old DC like fighting the Antimatter kind of thing.
Yeah, it felt very much like that. It was super cool. And then we even got character sketches at the back of it, which I was really pleased with.
Yeah, like one of the things I loved with this issue, because like most comics, it's like you got the ads in there and everything. Like this one is just like they do the thing that a lot of indie books do where they just put all the ads at the end of the book quick. So this is just like, you just read through it as just like the book all the way. Like you don't have any kind of interruption or anything. Yeah,
it was like watching one of those feature presentation brought with limited interruptions kind of thing. Yeah, it was really just a lot of fun. And it's just a straight up one shot. Like you're just dropped into the middle of the story, and you're getting the what's happening right now. You're getting the flashbacks, and it tells you everything that you need to know. So if you haven't been reading any Fantastic Four or Doom continuity or anything, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, no, this is just a purely fun one and done. Again, the story's great, the art's gorgeous. The armor that Doom gets in this is like easily one of my favorite looks he's ever had.
Yeah,
it's everything about it is good. The fight he has with I won't say who, but like Galactus's new heralds, which is just like so cool.
Yeah, and over the top.
Oh yeah,
it's really fun. Yeah, it's a ton of fun, and they're I probably should have picked up more, but it's got one of the coolest Doom covers ever. So yeah, very cool. Well, like we said, there's a bunch of reprints. So if you've been missing out on Transformers, if you didn't get Space Ghost, that was last week. We've got some copies on the shelves now. There's a bunch of other stuff that's coming out that's great. A number
Briar's back.
Briar's back after a long. We talked about that before the video. Briar's back after a long break. So if you've been reading that, you can continue to do so. Always so much good stuff to read. There's never a lack of anything, and we've got literally hundreds of thousands of back issues. We've got thousands of graphic novels and manga. So stop on into the store, check it all out. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave some comments on what you're enjoying reading. And we'll be back next week because there's going to be a whole new wall full of books for us to read. So thank you very much for joining us, and take care.
I don't know. I just had the thought of just like, obviously they're not going to do this. They're going to make him sound normal, but like whenever we get MCU Doctor Doom, just having him sound like Bane, just like, "'Tis I Doom."